Rafael Tarrago, Librarian for Chicano Studies at the University of Minnesota Libraries.
Hi, I'm Erik Moore. I'm the University of Minnesota archivist.
And we are going to talk about the development of a Chicano Studies Department archive in the University Archives. It all began when I went to the memorial for the late Professor Rojas, who was chair from 1980 to 2000. 1983 to 2000. And his family asked me if the libraries would want to have his papers and books. And then I remember I contacted Erik and Professor Luis Mendoza, and the three of us were going to go along to his house, but then Erik couldn't make it at the last minute. So Mendoza and I were looking at this material, and the books I could bring to the Wilson Library, but the papers, I didn't have space in my office. So Mendoza took it to the Department of Chicano Studies. And then Erik and I went there a few weeks later, and Erik evaluated the materials, and well, this is how now we have, and took them to the archives, and that is how now we have at the University Archives material related to this department, where history and teaching on the Hispanic heritage of the United States is done.
Yeah, that's right. And one of the important factors of this was that the University Archives is home to the official repository for the University of Minnesota, and is a collecting unit for not only departmental history but faculty papers as well. And these materials covered both of those areas, and so when we looked at the papers and evaluated them, there were materials there about the early foundations of the department, or the Chicano Studies Department, as well as materials related to Professor Rojas. And we were able to bring those in, and we worked through those, and we've identified the material that we want to commit to and preserve and make accessible. And those are available through the University Archives. And they're available beyond just the campus. They're available to an international group of scholars who might be interested in the development of Chicano studies and Latin Chicano studies departments throughout the United States.
Now, Erik, if I may ask you a question. If, let's say, a graduate student here will want to investigate the history of Chicano studies and wanted to look at these materials, what would be the procedure for him to do? Because, well, I am in Wilson, so I'm not that familiar with the special
Absolutely. For the most part, we just encourage people to call or to email and to inquire about the materials we have. We have descriptions of some of our materials available online, but we're more than willing to help any type of researcher find more materials that are relevant to their research. For example, the materials that we brought over through the Chicano Studies, it documents early history of the department. It documents student organizations related to Chicano student issues at the time in the early 1970s, campus recruitment of Chicano students in the mid-1970s, departmental constitutions, surveys, task force reports about Chicano student concerns at the university in the 1970s through the 1980s. And so it really is much broader than just a departmental history. It's a piece of the social history that began in the 1960s through the 1980s, and this is really an element of that.
You know, that is very good, because, I mean, there's still a lot of this interrelation between the students in the university, and it is great that we have it documented at the University Archives.
Yeah, and it's not just history from 40 years ago. The department went through another evaluation in 2002, 2003, and as part of that there was a Save the Chicano Studies group that was formulated, and so some of the records and email correspondence to that group are located in the collection as well as the university's task force report about the department. So we really can document both sides of an issue here at the archives and make it available for researchers to study and explore on their own.
That is wonderful, and particularly that these materials will be available is great, because they might have stayed in someone's office or some departmental office, but because they are now in the University Archives, they are available for the researchers.
That's right. They're available, they're preserved, and that's part of the mission of the University Archives.
Well, it's great that we have someone like you, really hands-on archivist, willing to come and get your hands on the stuff.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks for joining us at the University of Minnesota Libraries now during Hispanic Heritage Month.